G'day and welcome back to Foord Offroad. In this video, got a millweld 4-inch stainless steel snorkel. Going to show you all how to fit it to a Nissan GU Patrol. So the snorkel I'm going to be fitting today is a millweld customs one. Comes with instructions, some pinch weld, a pipe for inside the guard, adapter for if you have the standard airbox, which I do, hose clamps, template, nutserts, and of course the snorkel itself. Alright, first step to this snorkel install is going to be get the front on jack stand, take this wheel off, rip the inner guard out, and get rid of those letters. To get the letters off, just got this little scraper thing. I'm just going to hammer it in there. Doesn't really matter if you scratch it because it gets cut about there, so as long as you don't scratch taking the L off, then you'll be alright. Okay, now for the inner guard, it's going to need one of each screwdriver. Star screwdrivers on the outside, and these little clips on the inside. So now up inside the guard, you've got to take the pipe off that takes the air to the standard airbox. Just a couple of 10 mils holding that in, as well as this piece of foam just here. Righto, now we're going to stick this template on there and trace around it. You can see what I was saying, we cut out most of the letters. The millweld one comes marked, that one points to the bolt inside the engine bay, that one points to there, that follows that follows that. However, every time we fit a snorkel, every time I fit a snorkel, I always cut it inside the lines because you can always take more metal away. It's pretty hard to start putting it back on. So let's mark that and get cutting. Millweld says to cut this with an angle grinder and then finish it up with some tin snips. I'm going to do it an easier way. I'm going to drill it out, just drill a hole to start my air hacksaw in, chop it out with that, and then finish it off with a die grinder to get it to the perfect size. Start this end. Righto, let's get cutting. Very loud tool, this one. To come off, I'm going to have to take a bit more off the inside there, so I'll start with that and I'll just repeat this probably 20 times until it's perfect instead of cutting too much out. Now I've got where the snorkel fits in there, I'm just going to clean the cut up. I'm just going to paint the edges of that cut and put the pinch weld on. Righto, so that's how it's going to sit. Now I'm just going to mark and drill out these 4 holes along the pillar. You'll drill it just big enough to get that nutset in there, otherwise it won't grab, which I think is 8.5 mil. Or that step on the drill. If you don't have one of these nutset tools, you can use tech screws, in which case you wouldn't, if you're going to use tech screws, don't drill it out beforehand, just hold her up there and bung the techies in. These tools are awesome for putting threads in the sheet metal where you can't get your hands to put a nut on the other side. I love this tool. Next we have to take the airbox out to modify it, and also you need to cut the hole that goes through the guard big enough to fit your 4-inch pipe in there. Righto, so now what you got to do is make that hole in there big enough for this to go through. Which means, looking at that, I'll cut about a centimetre bigger around it. And then you've also got to cut the inner layer. It's easier if you take the guard off, but I'm not going to do that. And now I've got the inside, or now I've got both layers of the engine bay trimmed. So I trim my standard airbox to fit this insert in it, which is going to be just bigger than what's already there. So that'll poke through, and that connects to your 4-inch. If you have an aftermarket airbox, when you order it, you've got to tell them what one you have, and you get different pieces depending on what engine you have and what airbox you have. So let's chop this up. Now that's cut out, and there's about 2 million tiny little black pieces of plastic everywhere. Silicone that in. Silicone, Sikaflex, whatever you want to use to put that in there, and just leave it long enough that it dries, and then we'll chuck it back in. While we're waiting for that to dry, if you've got the Snorkel that has the solid pipe inside the guard, you need to cut 25mm off one end of the elbow. And if you've got the Snorkel that just has the flexi pipe, then don't worry about doing that bit. So now I'm going to take the Snorkel off again. The airbox is done, those holes are cut. Because you have to have Snorkel off to feed these up. So I put these 3 silicone bits in, Snorkel back on, do everything up tight, and then as soon as the silicone dries on the airbox, chuck it back in and we're done. Okay, so first up, feed the elbow up into the hole. and then the solid piece into the end of this, and then the other piece of silicone on the end of the solid piece, all with hose clamps, but don't do it up. And we're going to put the snorkel on, and then we'll do it up. When you're putting all these up there, don't forget to put your hose clamps on, otherwise you'll be pulling it back off again. And make sure you're pointing in a way that's going to be easy for you to undo them. Okay, they're both on there. And I've pushed them both in a fair bit so I can pull them back out. It's going to be very hard to get that bit on. You kind of need to get the snorkel on and then slide it off that one onto the back onto the snorkel. So let's do that. It's always the hardest bit, trying to line everything up at the end. Okay, so that was very difficult, as I said it would be. So basically you got to slide that onto there, put the snorkel in, then try and slide it back over that. Anyway, it's on there now. I'm just going to put the hose clamps on, then the inner guard on, and then inside here is done. Alright, now I'm going to put the airbox back in. Which is a bit of a pain. Done. Millweld 4-inch snorkel on. So that's how you fit a 4-inch stainless steel snorkel to a GU Patrol. That was a millweld one. So other brands are going to have different plumbing and stuff to the airbox, and if you're running a custom airbox, but that's roughly how you do it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.